Hi, my name is Laura Bedal, and I'm the founder of Bedal Accounting. Bedal Accounting is a firm that works with small businesses to help them with all of their compliance needs and as well as their financial decision making. You have the advantage of someone who had many years of corporate experience helping your small business do things like the big guys do. So when I started my accounting firm, I have to admit that payroll was the scariest thing that we were going to add as a service. Because if you mess up payroll, you mess up somebody's family. So I was very cautious to make sure that I found a solution that was going to be easy to use and was going to meet the needs of the client, but also not necessarily require someone to be a payroll expert. My team are bookkeepers, none of which have really had any experience in payroll. So we needed something that was intuitive and easy to use and reliable. And so QuickBooks Payroll checked all those boxes. So my accounting firm uses QuickBooks exclusively, so we knew that the integration of that payroll software with the Intuit QuickBooks software would be seamless. I like that when we process payroll, it does all the bookkeeping for us. So there's no education for that perspective in terms of knowing that when we book something, is it going to wages or is it going to the balance sheet? We were able to just set it up, make it easy to use, and get it going without having to teach people how to do payroll accounting too, which took some of the stress off of payroll off my team. So when we started using QuickBooks Payroll, there was no automation. Everything was manual. So I've experienced the automation coming in. So things like the auto payroll is fantastic. So if you have an employee who either is earning a salary or maybe they get a standard amount of hours, there's really no additional work other than to verify that nothing changed from the previous week. So that takes away the risk that you're going to mess up their payroll. You're not going to make a typo. You're not going to process it late. It's going to be processed for you. The source deduction payments, so at the end of every month when you have to send the taxes and the CPP and EI to the government, you used to have to run a report, reach out to the client, say, here's what you need to pay, make sure you pay by this date. And that got messed up a lot because the client, that wasn't their primary focus. Now that it's automated, I go into the system, I click the button that says pay now, I tell it when to pay, I make sure it's on time, I send reports to the client saying it's looked after. So the automation has really taken a lot of burden off of the client and really taken some of the scariness of processing payroll off of my team. So I'm going to start by saying that when I was in my corporate roles, payroll reports were terrible to look at. You would get the standard payroll register, which would be a list of which employees got paid and how much their deductions were, and all reports that were needed to prove that the payroll was correct, but they didn't really tell you much about how the business was running. In the QuickBooks Payroll, we have reports like that if you need it, but they also have labor reports and payroll summary reports, and they're not written in payroll language, they're written in plain everyday language. So if a client is asking you a question about payroll, you can go in, put in the dates that they need, run the report, and often without really explaining what you're sending, they know what they're reading. So the total pay report is one that's really good. The time activity report is really good. And what's really great is if you go into the search menu of the reports and you just type payroll, all the reports are there. So it's no big deal to pick one, see if it gives you what you want. If not, try the next one. And I've never had a problem with ultimately finding what I need. They're nice and simple and easy to read. So as I said earlier, payroll is scary, because if you mess it up, you're affecting somebody's life. I have not had a client who is looking to hire their first employee who hasn't been scared to death that they were doing something that was going to cause them pain. QuickBooks Payroll has a clock system in it. So if you need an employee to clock in and clock out, it's there. If they want to see their pay stub, it appears online. It's very modern in terms of you can have direct deposit, you can have an e-pay statement sent to you. So it gives that client the sense of, we have something really professional. If you think about what the client was probably expecting, they were probably expecting that they were going to have to handwrite checks and hand out pay stubs, something that's very not modern. And payroll through QuickBooks is a very modern solution, and it speaks in everyday language, which allows everybody to come to ease pretty quickly. Compliance with payroll regulations is something that a payroll specialist, when you hire them, they spend a lot of time keeping up with reading and watching the budgets and so forth. When you're a small accounting firm, you don't necessarily have a payroll specialist. So what QuickBooks does is they provide outside sources for you to tap into in order to make sure you get educated. They provide newsletters and videos and potentially information webinars on the changes that are happening in the software and how that's going to help you comply with regulation. All of that takes the pressure off because they update the software to make sure that things happen automatically. Most recently, CPP2 got introduced. I had to read about it to understand it, but in terms of it calculating correctly, in terms of it happening on my payrolls that it needs to happen, the software is looking after it. It's giving me the flags that I need. So from that perspective, they take a lot of the pressure off of a small firm who may not have this specific expertise that you might see in like a huge corporation, and they make you feel like part of a huge corporation by giving you the information so that you can do a great job. So my team, we use as much of the integrations as we can. So for our firm, my team uses QuickBooks Time to clock in and out. We export those hours into payroll. We're using the automated accruals of vacation, and we're using the pay stubs electronically. So we're using QuickBooks Payroll because we believe in it for our clients, we believe in it for us. So we are using every integration, and if it comes out, we're testing it. We use the product before we're even suggesting it to clients. Once we know it works, we then start selling it out to the clients. If you're considering QuickBooks Payroll for your firm, I think the first thing that you need to remember is that it's going to do some of the basic bookkeeping for your QuickBooks. So we're going to take that pressure off of you. It is easy to use and easy to walk through. It's going to help make sure you don't forget anything. When we're putting a new client onto QuickBooks Payroll and we're going through the screens, I'm saying, okay, we have to set up an employee. What kinds of pays are they entitled to? The screen right on QuickBooks gives you suggestions. Are you going to pay them bereavement pay? Are you going to pay them sick pay? These are things that small business owners don't always think about. So by forcing you to check the box, yes or no, it opens up a conversation. So I think if you're not, as a firm, familiar with providing payroll, it also helps make sure that you don't miss anything too, right? Because if the question is, are you going to provide bereavement pay? QuickBooks is helping make sure that I don't forget to ask that question. So I would say use it as a starting point. It integrates well. And at the end of the day, your payroll is going to look professional because they're going to get the direct deposit, they're going to get the e-statements. We know we're going to be compliant, and it's easy to use.